Hello, my name is Rob Garner. I'm a computer programming instructor, and today I'm going to talk about how to create a repo in an organization um, for my classes. So, if we go to GitHub, and after you've made a GitHub account, go to your organizations, and in this case, I'm going to demonstrate on this course. It's called CIS 2284 Fall 2022. And select that organization, go to repositories, and you'll be able to make your repo here. So we'll start off in GitHub to make this repo, and I'm going to call this GitHub demo. And you can choose to make them public or private. For my classes, I ask that you make them private. And you can choose your git ignorer here. We're really not going to need to do that because our Visual Studio will do that for us. And if you were doing this in production, you would pick a license. Note that picking none does not eliminate your rights to your product. It just means that you're not stating what the license is. So you can generally leave this none for my classes, and then we can create the repository. Once it's created, the main thing that we need to be interested in is this URL here. This is the URL to your GitHub repo. And we can copy that now, but we're going to use that later. So I'm going to create a new project. And actually, initially, let's do just a regular folder without using Visual Studio. So somewhere, it doesn't matter where, you can create a new folder. Actually, probably the best place to do these is by default, Visual Studio will create this repos folder. That's probably the best place for you to create your new repo. So I'm going to create a new folder here, and I'm going to call it GitHub Demo. And inside here, we're just going to make a simple HTML page. And so we've made our beautiful website. It's going to change the world, of course. And now we want to turn this into a repo. So one way of doing this is using the command line. Instructions on how to do this are located in the book Pro Git, which you can find at gitscm.com. Just look up Pro Git. You can search for it, and you'll actually you can actually get it started. If you don't have Git installed, you can go to gitscm.com, download Win. That's one option. Another is to go to github.com or desktop.github.com. This will actually bring in a GUI application and also install Git. And so this is probably the easier option, is to do that. So the next step is how do we turn this into a repo? Well, one way would be to take this folder and take this directory and turn it into a Git repo. But since we've already made a repo up above, I'm going to rename this to temp, because we're going to actually bring down the one that's that we created in GitHub. And so in here, we'll open this in terminal. And we'll just do a git clone, and then we want this URL that we created before. So we'll copy this URL here, and we'll paste it in here, and it will now go and clone that empty repo. And it warns us that it's empty, and that's fine. And here is that repo that we created. So we can see this isn't completely empty. And I recommend that you always enable in your File Explorer on your computer when you're doing software development, file name extensions and hidden items. Because I have hidden items it shows that there's this Git folder, and you don't do anything in this Git folder. It's hidden for a reason. You don't want to mess with this directly, but this makes this a Git repository. So now what I can do is I can and actually, just so we can see what's happening in there, what we'll do is, if we do a directory, we can see that now this GitHub demo is here. I'm going to change directories and go into, looks like I misspelled it, that's okay. We can see there's not much in here. We can do a git status, and we can see we're on the main branch, no commits yet. So git status tells us what the current status is. Now I will go back to this repo, take our amazing website, take the files, in this case there's just one, and copy and paste it in here. And I'll do another git status, and you'll see that now there's the file, and it says nothing added to commit but untracked files present, and it tells you what to do. We can add this, and you can put the file name. If we just list the one, though, later on we might have multiple files, so it's generally easiest just to put a -a, which means git add all. If I look at git status again, I can see now the file has been staged. And if you look at, and to better understand this, you can read the Pro Git book. We started as untracked. It became modified, and now we're staged. The next thing we need to do is we need to commit. So we've added the file. The next stage is we need to commit this file. So to commit this, we're going to say git commit, and we'll put the -m switch so that we can specify a message that will be associated with. These are useful in order to, so that if you go back in history, you know what happened. I'm just going to use initial commit for this. Usually in each subsequent commits, you may associate with a task number if you're doing agile with a program management, or a brief description of what you changed. But in this case, we'll just put initial commit and we'll hit enter. And so now that if we do another git status, we now have the change committed. Note if we go to the repo, and we can actually go to this repo by clicking on the link here and going to code, let's see, go find our repo. We don't actually have it up here yet. So we need to, after we commit, we have to do one more thing. We have to git push. Then we can go, and we can see here, it says done. If we go to our repo again, we'll see that now our file has been pushed to main, and you can actually look on GitHub and see there's that file. So that's basically the process of getting the repo up onto GitHub. And now how do we work with this? Well, let's make a change. So we're going to open up our file. Let's say now we wanted to make some changes, and demo we need some tests. There's actually a website called lipsum.com. We can generate this some gibberish to use. I'm just using this as an example on how to make So we've made this amazing website. And I just saved these changes. I'll close that out just to show that it's been saved. And then we go back to our command line. And until you kind of get a feel for what's going on, it's not bad to hit a lot of git statuses. And we see that we have index.html has been modified. So now what we can do is git add -a. And then git commit mem for message and it tells you that, okay, we are ahead of the commit that's online by 1. So we will now do, and notice again at this point, nothing's changed here. Even if I do a let me go back to here. If we take a look at this, refresh the page just to make sure it's there. Nothing's been modified yet. Until we actually do a git push, your changes are not online. So always make sure you do a git push before you're done for the day to make sure that we have the most current version. So now you can see that the changes we made are now posted to the page. And the nice thing about the way an organization works is that anyone who has access to the organization has access to, or at least I as an administrator of this this organization have access to all of these repos. You won't see the repos from anybody else because of the way I set the permissions, or at least if I set it up correctly, you won't see that. To provide access, you can go to settings, and in here you can add permissions through this. But you will so for other members of the team, if you're working on a group project, you'll have to add people to that repo, but by default your repo should only be available to administrators on this organization and not other developers on that. So in any case, that's the basic process for making a repo on the organization, posting it, and then adding changes. Thank you very much.